the soldiers to me. We were changing in the guard on the hour.
Since 2004, there is a professional army, so also those who want to. So these are the members of the unit of the Prague Castle Guards. They've got a very special uniform, actually 3 sets of uniforms for summer, winter, and autumn. They are very autumn. And they were designed by a very famous fashion designer, Czech fashion designer. His name is Danube. I tell you the name probably doesn't ring the bell, but here in Prague, in the cathedral for her, when she came with approximately 1,000 people accompanying her, she was very disappointed because the Prague castle wasn't used for kings or emperors for more than 150 years, because that was when the last emperor left. So there was only one room set for her that was beautiful and everything, but all the other people, they had to sleep in corridors, they had no beds, there was no water piping, no heating. It was a terrible experience for her. So although it was planned that she would stay few weeks in the Czech kingdom, she stayed just few days, and then after she got the crown, she went back to Vienna to her luxury again, because you have seen what they were used to, how they lived. But when she came back to Vienna, she asked her court architect Nicola Pacassi to prepare plans for renovations of the castle so it would be able to accommodate royal and emperor's visits in the future. So the architect drew the plans, was coming to Prague very often, and Prague people worked really hard for 14 years. And then 1757, everything was fixed, ready, so they sent invitation to Vienna, to the Empress that she comes to see, but she didn't come. So next year they sent invitation again, she didn't come. And they actually kept sending invitation for 23 years, every year until 1780 when she died, but she never ever came back to Prague. So she never ever could see what they prepared. And you have to imagine these were massive changes. The building we came through, it was just a one-story building where they were keeping horses. They were Spanish horses kept here. So Nicola Pacassi built a beautiful hall, ceremonial hall inside, which is decorated with crystal chandeliers and golden decorations and mirrors, and named the hall after the horses, the Spanish Hall. This side that we can see the building, that actually used to be the last fortification wall of the castle. It was torn down and buildings and new halls were created as well. And the facades, when you look all around, they look very similar like the buildings in Vienna. So Vienna Classicism is the name of the style, and I'm pretty sure it reminds you of the buildings in Vienna. At the building we came through, you'll get to see the gate. So that's actually the only part that remained from the walls, of the fortification walls, the Matthias Gate. It was built in the beginning of the 17th century in the Baroque style. So this is what Nicola Pacassi, the architect, did, that he created the buildings around, and also built those 2 wings on left and right hand side, and created this courtyard that we call the Court of Honor. Court of Honor, so that's the most representative entrance of the castle. Whoever is now coming to visit the president, then we will have the red carpet here. Then we have the Prague Castle Guards lined up on both sides, and this is where the ceremonial visits are happening. So here again, the masts are the modern parts. So these were designed around 1920 by architect Josef Plečnik. He was the friend of the first Czechoslovak president, and they are made of wood. On the left hand side we can see the Czech flag again. On the right hand side here, instead of European Union flag, we have got the Ukrainian flag to show that we support Ukraine.
Where are the plaques here of the arch? We're going to go into the church. Cathedral? Oh, we don't? Oh. How long will that take? Yeah. Half an
啊，
hour.
这边是总统的总统府。
現任都仲喺度係嘛？啊，呢度好抵啊！哇，beautiful！
Still under the communist times.
여기가 약간.
Czech people always trying to make fun of everything, even in the worst
여기가
times.
약간.
So they were rumors going around the city that
어떤 거를? 저
building
건물?
base for the rockets, and from Prague they will see Germany because the US so close to the German border. It's not true. It's really a communication tower. Now I've seen somewhere they was selected to be the second ugliest building in the whole world. Columns in the middle. So he built the ceiling, built the and it was requested by the king that hall supposed to be that big, so they would be able to have those fights of knights on horses. This jousting supposed to play there, but we don't have any evidence that it really happened. They even built a special horse staircase. So here behind the wall, there's actually a staircase going up, like every stair is like 1 meter wide, and so the horses would enter the hall as well.
Yeah, well.
So we will have a next short stop here. In the beginning, when I talk about the castle complex, I told you that it contains of several palaces and 3 churches. From this spot, we can see all 3 churches at the same time. So when we look back to the cathedral, we can see the side chapels. The center one is the Chapel of Virgin Mary that was finished as very first. So that was the one that even King Charles IV could use for his prayers while he was alive. And then before the cathedral was completed, there was another church for the kings attached directly to the old royal palace. So if you look in that direction, where I'm pointing with my flag, you see the side wall and the 2 windows of the Church of All Saints that is actually adjoining directly the old royal palace. And when we look in that direction, we actually see the oldest church within the castle complex. I know it sounds weird because it looks like Baroque church. The truth is that the Basilica of St. George, which is in front of us, was originally built in a Romanesque style in the 12th century. And after the big fire in 1574 in Prague, it was then renovated and rebuilt in the actual architectural style, which was Baroque. At that time was also the corner chapel added to the church, the chapel of St. Johann of Nepomuk. And what's interesting that in the 20th century, when the basilica needed renovations again, the architects decided that they will bring it back to the Romanesque style. The only part that remained Baroque is the front facade. But if you enter or if you walk around, which we will do, then everything else is back to Romanesque style. So it's a very big contrast, because when you're entering a Baroque church, you would expect a lot of golden decorations, marble, angels, and so on. If you enter here, it's just plain walls, very simple wooden ceiling, and almost no decorations.
What's the difference between a basilica?
Construction of the cathedral was stopped for more than a century, and it went on and off because we had 30 years war, so it went always a little part and then interrupted again. So to the parts that we see in front of us, they are actually very recent, because these are not yet 100 years old. Because the official opening date of the cathedral was the 28th of September 1929. So it took almost 600 years to build a cathedral. Nowadays it's the still functional cathedral. There's a service every Sunday, and it's the, as I mentioned, it's the most important Catholic church in the country. Is the year, 9 on the top is the day, 7 is the month, 531, 5 o'clock 31 minutes in the morning. Something that you would never think of. I really don't know how they came to the idea. It was a unique moment. It will never ever repeat something like that. And this is where the construction of this bridge started. And as we can see, it really lasted for centuries. Unfortunately, Charles IV couldn't see the bridge completely finished because it took 62 years to finish the bridge, so it was in 1420 and it was already 42 years after he passed, so he couldn't see that bridge completed. But anyway, it was the only bridge across the river for the next 4 centuries. Only in 1861 another bridge was built, and of course in the medieval times it was something not for free, so that was paid. People had to pay tolls to cross the bridge. That's why we have towers on each side. So on the left side, the Lesser Town Bridge Tower, and then on the other side we see the Old Town Bridge Tower. The towers have got gates, so the gates were closed, only open for those who paid. And from the top of the towers, the guards could watch the area to protect the bridge. The bridge is built in Gothic style. The architect of the bridge is the second architect of the cathedral, Peter Parler, as I told you. And it's 505 meters long. It has got 15 arches. Those arches are ended up with statues on each end of each arch. The statues came much later to the bridge. The bridge finished 1420 and the first statue came to the bridge in 1693. Nowadays, when we're lucky, it's 30 statues, but we never see all of them. At least one is getting renovated somewhere, so we never see all of them. But we will actually be talking about the oldest statue that was brought to the bridge in 1693. The traffic across the bridge, you have to imagine beginning of the 20th century, everything, including horse carriages, cars, trams, pedestrians, everything, until 1965. In 1965 it was decided that the bridge will be for pedestrians only, and now it's open 364.5 days a year. We've got one day, which is the first Sunday in May, when we have the Prague International Marathon, and this is when the runners, the 11,000 runners, are running across the bridge like those guys. Oh, perfect timing. All right, so that's the story about the bridge. Now please look for my flag, because we will have one more stop on the bridge in front of the oldest statue. So I would like to
Okay. Okay.
Cuando regresó nuevamente al tiempo, ¿qué fue lo que le pasaba al pobre Juan? ¿Qué le va a hacer? Para aquí ellos te acaban con todo muy rápido con un tajo en el cuello, literal, ¿vale? Lo que ejecuta no puede que te ejecutarlo, él va a decir que únicamente se le...
And again, rotating around, showing us the position on the sky, and also moving on the stick up and down based how high the moon gets on the sky. Something that was produced in 1400. Unbelievable. You know, it was cruel times. After the clockmaster was finished with his work, the city council wanted to make sure that we will not repeat this anywhere else. So he was not killed, he was blinded. Blinded. Yeah. But you know, it was the 15th century. What can you expect? But then 100 years later, the clock needed renovation. There was another clockmaster who came to renovate the clock, and he added moving parts to the piano shown us. That was the first subject criticizing the Catholic Church for accepting money from the people to forgive their sins. He was criticizing that strongly, that he ended up on the stake. The Catholic Church did. It is. And also the tower is
下一个整点呢，在下午有好几个整点，我们会在这个广场可以移到整。